Hi, I'm Tossi Kicks. On today's show, well, it's a news update for you. We've just had the live stream video from Tamiya taking a dive into the new chassis for the Super Astute. Super Astute? No, not Super Astute. Super Avanti. The Super Astute. I keep saying Super Astute. Damn it. Hi, welcome to Tossi Kicks. On today's show, well, we're talking about the brand new Super Avanti chassis that we've just seen on the live stream. Now, if you were part of the live stream, thanks very much for joining. It was great to chat to a few of you. And what do we think? Well, I've made my notes, so we'll go over a few things that we saw. And I won't let you wait to the end to find out what my general feeling is. I think the chassis is a fantastic thing that Tamiya have done. It's very different. It's unique. I think it's harping back to being a character car. There is issues. It's not all plain sailing, but we'll cover most of them. But overall, the chassis looks great. So I've just made my list. I'll run through them in no particular order. It's really good to see something new and fresh. So first of all, the battery. It has the most bonkers battery loading system ever. You have to disconnect the steering, lift up the front shocks to get your battery in and out. The chassis looks super tight. It's very much like the TC01 and you can see whoever was designing the TC01 was definitely connected with this chassis design. It's very compact like you have in here. So I think electronics are going to be a little bit of a challenge. The ESC sits behind the driver's head right up high and it doesn't look like to be too much room. There's actually like a little roll bar for the driver as well. The driver is actually attached to the chassis. When you take off the body, it stays with the car. I'll be flashing up images constantly as I talk through this to try and match the images to what I'm actually talking about. Another thing that we noticed, the arms. This buggy has the thickest arms you've ever seen. I get the feeling what they really want to do with this buggy is give you a driving dirt buggy that you can go out and you can lean on without being so fragile. Which means that's great because they've obviously listened to what we say about Tamiya buggies being very fragile. I've never seen such thick arms on it. Also, the plastics that are used are a bit more like what you see in the TC01. They have got a mixture compounds. It's not just an out-and-out plastic. So hopefully they're going to be stronger. Being that it's definitely focused at driving in the dirt, you can see they've put little sponge around the ball joints to try and keep the dirt out. So I guess the whole idea of this chassis is you go out and you drive it. This is not really a shelf queen kind of design. What else can I say? A bumper. Now it's got a small bumper on it and the general consensus, couldn't really figure out, a lot of the Japanese, was the idea of having a small bumper is that when you jump it, when it lands on the wheels and will keep driving instead of like bouncing off of the front bumper. Me personally, from a looks point of view, it needs a bumper, I think. As well as my driving's awful, so I'm bound to rip one of the arms clean off it, even though they are nice and strong. But you can fit a different bumper. It's only bolted on. It's not like super specific to the chassis. So hopefully there will be some options for some bigger bumpers. I think it just will look better. From that point of view, space we covered. Space is definitely going to be an issue. It's super tight. The servo is on this side of the car. It then links to a pivot point just in front of the driver. Then it goes to another point and then down to the front. Now I'm hoping that means we're not going to get loads of slop in the steering, but it does look like it's a long way round to get the steering in. For sure, and it goes across the top of the battery as well. Yeah, it's definitely tight, and getting the whole battery in, obviously it's a good position for the battery, very central, very low, But yeah, there's been some serious design hours put into trying to figure out how to pack that all into the chassis for sure. Hex screws, there seemed to be a hell of a lot of hex screws throughout the whole thing. It didn't look like they were 100% hex. There was a few pins in the arms that looked like they were still a standard JIS from that point of view, but mostly hex, which is good to see. The front shocks in the window, I think that looks really good, especially if you can upgrade to some anodized metal shocks with different colors. I think you'd be able to make that into a real nice feature. Not overly sold on these side windows. They look a little bit fussy, but the good thing is you'll be able to paint them in. Well, will you? Is this car coming with a pre-painted body? Oh, I hope not. I really hope not. And the general consensus from you guys and girls is the body colors are very grating and people don't like them. And a few of you have got some mad skills, have done some mock-ups of different colors, and I'll put some pictures up here of them. They do look really good. There's a really nice gunmetal grey one with sort of orangey rims. That looks really nice. Now I think you would be able to paint in those side windows, I think, to make them disappear a little bit, to make it look a bit simple. One thing that I think is going to be a bit of a challenge that I don't think we're going to get away from, the way the chassis is designed as a big tub, it sticks out around the sides, making the car look a little bit fat, a bit sort of middle-aged, if you know what I mean. Versus when you look how sleek the original 88 is, you know, you have these nice deep curves and then it rounds at the back. It kind of balloons out a little bit at the side. So it's kind of a middle-aged Avanti. But that might be an issue to try and make it sleek. Now, they did say that you can lower the body to make it look a little bit more stealth-like, I guess. So hopefully that is a thing. I'll have to see. As well as the rear spoiler is too small and it's too low. But apparently you can raise it into 2 positions. Didn't say whether that was the high or low position, but it needs a bigger wing. I think because it looks kind of bulbous, putting a decent sized bumper on the front and a bigger spoiler on the back will stretch the look of the buggy out a bit more, and I think that may do it. I think that will give us a better look. Every time I look at this buggy, I just keep thinking it's a 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. It looks very much like a rear-wheel drive buggy to me than a 4-wheel drive. It has got slightly smaller front wheels, but you could easily make it look like a 2-wheel drive buggy for sure. Anyway, I digress. That's just me. Every time I keep looking at it, I'm thinking, should I make that a 2-wheel drive? And then everyone I comment that to comments back in horror. What else have we got? Okay, so let's cover the chassis. I think overall the chassis is a win for Tamiya. Whether we will see this in other variants or whether it's just going to be the Super Avanti, I think we have to give them real credit for going to a whole new level to design a whole new chassis and not just doing the standard normal stuff. A little bit disappointed that there's no real carbon. Yes, we'll be able to get small little piece upgrades and stuff like that, a bit like the TCO1, but that tub is just one massive lump. And at the end of the day, if you get bored of doing RC cars, you can always turn it into a boat. It's just this massive tub, so obviously it's going to be pretty rigid. It looks like it's going to be able to take quite a bit of bashing, which again is good because people have complained about strength of cars, especially as now we have more and more big bashers that people just expect RC cars to take a lot more abuse than they used to. What else to say? The wheels. Yes, I actually got a comment from the designer. He was really nice of him to actually comment in my last video. I'll put it up here. He actually said to me in his comments that the wheels weren't his choice. That was the colour, and I kind of understand why he was always coming through them, because the colour of the rims and the colour of the decals, they're off. They're 2 different yellows. One's kind of like an acidy yellow and one is just the normal yellow that we know, and that grates a bit. And so I'm surprised that a designer that comes into design a body doesn't have the scope to pick exactly what they want from the wheels and stuff like that. The wheels will definitely go for me personally, for sure. I think there's so many better choices out there, so that will be something. I'm not going to do my box art at all. if the body is clear. If the body is painted, there's going to be a massive demand for the later clear polycarbonate bodies. Yeah, I dread to think if it's painted, that is going to be a real issue. So I hope Tamiya are not going to paint this one. But then if they don't, I'm a bit worried because it is quite a complex paint job. So what do you think? Comment below. Would it put you off buying one if the body was pre-painted? Comment below, let me know. What else can I tell you? That's pretty much covers most of it, really. It's just the body is not quite there. But overall, I am really pleased. I was very worried before I saw the chassis because I was a bit worried that the chassis was not going to be really up to much. Should it have the Super Avanti name? I think I would have been happier if it was given something like the Super Tornado or something and it was on its own standalone. I think it would be a fantastic character buggy as a standalone. I think messing with the Avanti name just grates a bit. And if I was going to say design a new Avanti, I would start with the name first and then design the car to reflect the Avanti as it was, more than just make a car and then slap the Avanti name on. And it does personally feel like the Avanti name was slapped onto the car. Now obviously Tamiya have invested a lot of time, money and effort designing this chassis, and that is brilliant. I just don't know whether it fits into the design philosophy. But if you look, the 88 was stunning, the black is stunning, the VQS and the Vanquish is a lovely looking car. The Egress is just the creme. And from that point of view, my personal favourite is the 2001 Avanti. That's the best looking for me personally. And then it kind of goes downhill a little bit when you get to the Mark II Avanti, the Aero Avanti. Out of the cars that I don't think are that great, the Aero Avanti looks the better compared to the likes of the Mark II Avanti and the new Super Avanti. Comment below, tell me what you think. Agree, disagree? Anyway, thanks very much, and I'll get one on the show as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.